Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the most magical podcast in the Midwest. Starring USA Today best-selling author J.B. Michaels and his more successful wife, Ashley Michaels. And now, the hosts of the Magic in the Midwest podcast. Oh, hey, thanks, everybody. Thanks, host. This was a really great intro for us. Hello, everyone. I'm J.B. Michaels, USA Today best-selling author of many, many books. 14 to be exact. And some of those books are very holiday-themed. So if you want to check out those books, now would be a good time to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, so this is podcast number 34. I am J.B. Michaels again, and I'm joined by my more successful wife,
Ashley Michaels.
Yes, Ashley Michaels. And I am excited to bring a new podcast to you. We're getting into the holiday season. Thanksgiving is just around the corner, everybody. Just around the corner. And that's exciting. I think people need the holidays this year. I think they just need the boost of the decorations and the music maybe and all of the above, hopefully, right? And then, of course, I have many books, the whole series dedicated to Christmas called the Tannenbaum Taylors series. The first one is The Secret Snowball, which actually just got a new cover this year for the 5th anniversary of the publication, which I'm excited about. More details and more stuff coming your way on that. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you need anything insurance-wise, make sure to reach out to me at Magic in the Midwest podcast at gmail.com or jbmichaels11 at gmail.com, whatever you guys want to do. If you need anything insurance-wise, what is happening? What are you looking so strangely for? You, Ashley, you're like going like this.
You, Ashley? Like, who else would you be talking to?
You're like looking off in the distance.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
I was thinking.
Okay, well, don't
say it. Don't say it.
Okay, this is podcast number 34, and I can't believe it, 34 podcasts. That's
still
nuts.
Very young.
And we're still a baby podcast. I mean, let's face it.
I'm 34.
So yeah, and you're 34 years old.
An ashy-aged podcast.
So
very young and spry and beautiful.
Right, all of the above, especially right now. Anyway, so I don't know what that means. Okay.
You do know.
No, I don't. So we are gonna, we do have a few things that we want to talk about today, which are kind of exciting. I don't know if
usually we have a few things to talk about.
We usually have a podcast, so we talk. But thank you again to those people who subscribe to the podcast, Magic in the Midwest podcast.bandcamp.com, which is fantastic. So if you want to subscribe for as little as $3 a month, you'll get double the content. Mm-hmm. Okay, double the episodes. And we, so basically, really, when we say 34, we mean how many, actually?
How many?
No, you tell me. You're the math person.
Can you do 34
yes,
plus 30?
Yes, I can.
Can you?
Yes, I can.
68.
Ha! I think
you were stalling.
She thought I was that stoops. Anyway. All right. So.
It's you that's making that noise. That's what I was trying to figure out every time, that clicking sound.
What clicking sound?
Every time you do this with your knees, it's the chair making that sound. And
again, we have phantom sounds that Ashley hears on the podcast.
Or I'm going to chuck the mic out the door.
That would be Stoops.
Well.
That would be Stoops.
Then don't do it.
Okay, so, Ash, I'm moving my body in the chair. What do you want me to do? Stay, completely still? I have to be a statue during this?
I would appreciate it.
It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable.
I'm not comfortable, but I'm not moving. It's for the sake of the podcast.
Oh, my gosh. Lies. Okay, I'm not comfortable. You're so comfortable.
I'm not.
Why? What's wrong?
I'm never comfortable.
Tell me what's wrong.
My head hurts. My back hurts.
You're 34 and you're that old. Everything hurts out of you. That's not good. See, she's made out of sticks and rope, everybody. Sticks and
No,
rope.
I just have self-control. I'm not moving all around and making cricks and creaks.
Cricks?
Yeah, cricks and creaks.
Oh, fuck. Cricks and creaks.
Yeah.
Hashtag cricks and creaks.
Can we get to it?
What is today's podcast about?
It is top 5 mistakes that people make.
Rookie mistakes.
Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be rookies.
Well, sometimes it's rookie
I feel
mistakes.
like there are people I have talked to that go a lot and make these mistakes.
Okay.
So,
Okay. All right. So, yeah, we decided, we were just going to kind of, we have a lot of experience with people coming to us and asking us for tips and questions about a Disney trip, right? Because it is a big deal. And oftentimes it's like their only trip they're ever going to make to Disney. And they kind of, they want to do it right. They want to make sure that they do it right. And then you have other people who go a lot and still, go a lot and still have to make still have to make those similar sort of mistakes, which I guess, calling them mistakes.
yeah, some of them are mistakes in our opinion, and some of them are just more of the way that we have found to do things efficiently. There will be people that listen to this and disagree, and that's okay.
And that's fine. Actually,
Yeah.
it's good. If you disagree, it's fine.
Because people do Disney a lot of different ways, and that's fine. This is just sort of what's worked for us. Where some items on the list, I feel like,
Are pretty universal.
where other
Yeah.
ones, I know there's one major one that, people...
Now, do you
maybe
want to
wouldn't
start
consider.
5 to 1
Well, they're not
or
really in
1
any
to 5?
particular order for
Okay.
me. I don't think so. I
Okay.
just think that, some of them are bigger items and some of them are a little bit smaller, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay. Because here's the deal. We understand as consumers how expensive this trip can be. Even though, honestly, Disney does try to have, options for different income levels. There are value resorts, there are moderate resorts, there are deluxe resorts for a reason.
Any way you slice it, though,
It's
Disney's
still
an expensive vacation.
a very expensive vacation, no matter what you do, as far as even just, the tickets themselves will cost a family thousands of dollars. It's going to cost you over $1,000 just to get tickets, and then, that doesn't count food and all that other stuff. So, it will. It costs us, it costs us like $1,600 to get the 3 of us into the parks for 5-7 days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
there's
that's
only 3 of
over
us.
1,000, and that's only 3 of us. Imagine if you've got
4 kids.
4 kids and you're 2 adults, 4
Yeah.
kids. It's a different ballgame. So we know it's expensive, and really we're doing this because we want people to, what other argument people have, and like the way that a lot of people think about money and time is that they think, time is money, time is money, blah, blah. And really with Disney, yes, that's true, right? You're not wrong. But I think your perception of time needs to perhaps shift a little bit when you're in a theme park full of people.
Every week.
Yeah, every week. When you're in a theme park full of people and you're in a hot theme park full of people.
I want to add something to that.
Yeah.
You guys, a lot of you know that I'm an accountant, and I am definitely more of the numbers person between the two of us. So I totally get, and what we're really referring to when we talk about this is that JB and I, go into the park in the morning. And usually this is a more typical day for us at Disney, and we get up early and we get there on time when the
Right.
park opens, and we stay until about lunchtime. Sometimes we leave a little earlier, sometimes we leave a little later, depending on fast passes and that type of thing. And then we leave the park at noon. Effectively 4 hours after we walk in, and we go back to the hotel and we swim and we take a nap and we eat for like 4 hours. and then we go back into the park. We've talked
We don't
about
eat
this
for 4 hours.
Well, I do, but no, we eat.
The way you
and
said
rest.
that, it
Yeah,
sounded
you're right,
like
you're
we
right.
eat for 4 hours. Yeah, that was
Are
funny.
you done?
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
trying to get a point across.
For 4 hours.
I usually do eat for 4 hours. But, some of us nap, some of us swim, we eat, sometimes we shower between whatever it is. And then we head back into the park around 4, sometimes a little later, sometimes a little earlier, just depending. And then we finish out the night. We go on the attractions, do our thing, watch a nighttime show, whatever it is, and then stay after. And a lot of people question that, knowing how much you spend for a ticket. Why would you leave?
Possibly leave the
It
park.
doesn't make any
Right.
sense. I want to get every penny worth of that ticket that I purchased. Why would I waste all that time leaving? And my argument, as someone that's a numbers person, will say that what matters more at Disney is quality time, not just time. Those 4 hours in the middle of the day are the hottest. They are the most crowded. You will do the least. And by taking the break, you eliminate a lot of breakdowns, meltdowns.
Yeah, from
you kind of
kids
save your sanity. And it allows you to stay out late and get up early and be in the park when there's, the least amount of crowds and lines.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can assure you that we accomplish a lot in every day that we go into Disney with taking that huge break in the middle. We still do
and
a
this
lot.
is what comes to our first item on the list, which
Yep.
is a mistake that people make is, and I hate to say it, because back in the day, back in maybe the 90s, the early 90s, late 80s, you could wing everything all the time.
Yeah.
Like you really could. You could go in any of the parks and just wing it.
It's different now.
It's very, very different now.
Especially in the
unfortunately.
last few years, it's gotten even more.
Right.
So
basically, number one is not planning it and just winging it. Now, we had some special Bandcamp exclusive episodes that was like plan it versus wing it. For the most part, I think we did say plan it. And that's because the reason why Ashley and I and are able to do what she's saying we're able to do is because we plan it out like in advance. And I know that maybe that's not something you want to necessarily do. I mean, yeah, you could plan things out, but there's also room for spontaneity and just doing
I
whatever
think there's
you want.
room for flexibility, but you got to do the legwork up ahead.
Yeah, you gotta do
I think
those-
there's really only room for that if you've made the reservations and done the dining and the fast passes and all that, and kind of built in a few days where you're like, oh, okay, we'll just maybe do this or that.
Yeah, when they bring back the Fast Pass Plus, definitely use it, right?
Yeah.
Definitely use it. Get those Fast Passes and make sure you are planning out your days well in advance so you can maximize getting on the most, getting on the experiences and the attractions that you definitely want to have, you and your family want to have. If you go to Disney unprepared and not, just winging everything, if you're like a couple or you're like with your friends, and you're adults,
different.
that's totally different. You can kind of do whatever you want then. I really think, yes, you're going to have some adversity, but, if you've got a big family, you got kids and, you want to make sure you're spending a lot on your trip, don't not plan it.
I have a
So
few
that's
things
our
I want to
first-
add.
first thing.
Yeah, and so for me, what we normally do is we, however many days we're going to be there, we kind of set out, we'll sit down and we'll kind of talk about where we want to be on each day. So that way, when it's time to make fast passes, we kind of know which park we'll be in. And we also make a list of rides we really would like to get fast passes for, knowing that we may not get all of them, but we kind of, have like this list that we want to hit,
Yeah.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Space Mountain. And you know what, if we can't get both, we want this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also have backups and that type of thing. So sort of having that planned out will make it seem not so overwhelming on the morning,
Yeah,
which will
yes.
be a very early morning when
Yeah.
you get up to make fast passes, which brings me to my second point, is that when something falls like, when they say 6 months for dining reservations, I would definitely be calling or whatever it is that day in the morning. Don't be like, oh, it's around 6 months. I'm going to, maybe check here. If you have something you really want to get into, of course, this is more for some restaurants over others.
Right.
I would definitely be calling that morning. And then for fast passes, I would definitely be setting an alarm to get up, 60 days in advance?
Yeah.
For that, and have those set as a reminder in your phone with the plan already written out. And, as JB mentioned, Be Our Guest is a difficult one to get into. And I would just want to add that, there are things we all want to do on Disney trips, but nothing is make or break. It really isn't. I feel like some people are like, oh, I really want Be Our Guest, and they don't get it, and they think their trip is ruined, or they can't get on Slinky Dog or whatever. And there's so many great things to do that nothing is going to ruin your trip if you don't let it.
Well, here's the other thing too. You have to temper your expectations.
You're not going to get everything probably that you want to.
Well, I think too, people, you have to prepare yourself mentally, right? It's going to be crowded. It's going to be hot. You will be waiting in lines. Okay, so if you accept those rules, right, of engagement, I guess you could say, if you accept that, you will enjoy yourself way more. Mm-hmm. Like, instead of worrying about, how long the line is or whatever, just accept it. Like, hey, it's long. Okay.
Well,
do you want to wait in it or not?
Just because you don't get Seven Doors Mine Train doesn't mean you can't decide to wait in that line for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
You can still get on that ride. And like JB is talking about, you're not going to have a fast pass for every ride. Some rides you're going to be waiting in line for. A lot of rides. And there's really great queues and a lot of things to do in a lot of the lines, and that's part of the fun.
Right. So, which brings us to, number 2. And this is really especially.
I feel like this is number 1 for me.
If you've done your planning, you should have, this should negate. Okay, this shouldn't even happen. But again, people do this. People do this because number 2.
I feel like most people do this.
Yeah. Number 2 on our list of top 5 mistakes or rookie mistakes is sleeping in on a park day. Okay. All right, guys. You signed up to go on a Disney vacation. Okay? And then people tend to criticize that word vacation, right? Because a lot of people's view of what a vacation is I want to sleep in, and I want to relax, and I want to sleep in, and Disney vacations, yes, you can get plenty of sleep. I mean, you really can, because you're exhausted at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh, you will sleep like a brick.
Right. But if you sleep in on a park day, there's golden hours of park time that you are missing out on. And we've known families that have, slept in, and they're like, oh yeah, we went in at 11 o'clock, and they have not returned to Disney, and they will not return to Disney. They hated it so much, okay? Because they thought they could just sleep in and then just go do whatever. You can't do that.
You can, but your experience is going to be majorly different. And I'll tell you what, guys, we see it every time we're there. We get up, meaning like when you get to the park at 8, that means you're usually up by 6:30, which it's a vacation, easier said than done. Trust me, just do it, because you'll get on 11 rides, maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe 11.
Yeah,
and
really,
then
you get on a lot of rides.
At 10 or 11, you will see swarms of people coming into the park at 10 or 11, and that's when the park starts to get really busy and really hot, which is why we're like, oh, 1 more hour, and we're out of here.
Yeah.
And we avoid that part, which is why I wanted to explain that in the beginning. But when you wake up at that time, and you come in, you're going to be heading into a park full of the longest lines of the day.
We actually had this happen. We had one of our last trips. We We took a break. We got on some things earlier in the morning. We took a break. The people we were with did not. They got on, I'm not kidding, in the span of a 4 to 5 hour break.
No, it was like 6 hours.
They got on 2 attractions.
Yes,
2.
and when we met back up with them, they were crabby.
Crabby, upset, sweaty,
so
tired.
The question is 6 extra hours worth? And you know what? They didn't come with us in the morning. They decided to sleep in and go into the park at like 10-ish. And if this is what you do and you like it and you're fine with it, that's fine. But I'm telling you, the quality of time, like to me, it's way worth it to spend 40 minutes to walk over, wait for a bus, whatever it is your transportation is, go all the way back to your resort, have 3 or 4 hours where you're totally chilling out, going to the pool, relaxing, in the shade, whatever it is you need to be, air conditioning, eat, keep eating for 4 hours, whatever it takes for you.
Right.
And then heading back out and having, it's not just about missing that time, but it's also you're refreshed. Yes, you got up early, but now you got a nap. So it doesn't matter that you got up early.
Or you just had a resting.
Or rest, right, whatever it is.
And
then later on, a lot of those people that have been in the park since 10 or 11 are starting to get really irritable because they've had maybe not the best experience, and they definitely plan on leaving in the evening.
Right.
You know, like not necessarily staying after the fireworks or whatever it is.
And if here's the other thing too, if you're not staying on Disney property, and I get it, because then you would have to go, like, if you're one of those people that stays at a resort around Disney, and you have to go to your car, get on the tram, go to the car, get in the car. If you're at Magic Kingdom, then get in the car, go home, and take a break. Like, that's probably not going to be something you're going to want to do.
No, I can't speak to that.
This is mostly for people that have stayed on property. But even if you don't, there are ways that you can take a relaxing break in the middle of the day. You can go, like, let's say you're at Magic Kingdom. You can leave the park, and you could go, have lunch at the Polynesian or something. Like, give yourself some leisure time.
Get on the monorail.
Get on the monorail, take it easy, get in some air conditioning, take that break.
Get away from the big crowd.
Yeah, even if the break is, go on the monorail, do a monorail loop of the different places, to go to Captain Cook's to get lunch and just hang out.
Or do some shopping on the monorail loop. Yeah.
Right. There are some other ways that you could take a break, just because that middle of the day is a dearth, and there's a reason why Disney on a typical time, and I mean now they have the cavalcades, but they have those park parades in the middle of the day for a reason, because they need to get people out of the line queues and in onto Main Street, so they can attract some attention, because it's a peak time to be in the park, so. It's one of those things. And increasingly, since there's more locals at the parks now, which is just becoming more and more of a thing, because the real estate is booming down there in Central Florida, you're going to have a lot of people just like hanging around in the park, like not really doing a lot, but just like in the park.
Yeah.
Like you might feel sometimes that the lines aren't that long wait time wise, but there's still a lot of people at the park, and that's because it
feels really busy.
Right, because now Disney sort of has a similar thing that happens at Disneyland, where you just have people that just like go into the park, to go into the park, which I guess is cool, but it also takes up space, right? So there are ways to take breaks, even if you're not on Disney property. To take a break and relax. I think you owe it to yourself. And then number 3 is crisscrossing across a park. So basically what that means is try and plan out your attractions
in clusters,
like in the geographic area, like what's close by.
Like we talked about before this is probably the most important in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, probably.
And most applicable, really.
And Animal Kingdom, I guess.
But I really think you can apply it. Like, no one in their right mind is probably going to be going back and forth between in Epcot, Future World, and World Showcase.
Yeah, that would be a long walk each time.
There's really no point to do that. You kind of are enjoying one part of the park or the other.
Yeah.
And definitely for Magic Kingdom, while everything is relatively closer together, when you're in Fantasyland alone, there's so much to do. You might as well hit what's there.
Right.
And this is maybe, I mean, I'm going to get on my little, Ashley's the Crab soapbox here because JB's probably more flexible with this than I am.
Right.
But I understand that a lot of people, us included, but we also love Disney ourselves, go to Disney and it's about your kids and their magical experience and blah, blah, blah. But it's also important to note that your kids do not understand the planning or the layout of the park or
Right.
logistics in general.
Right.
People that let their kids run the show going from, one side of the park to the other side of the park, back to this side, back to that side. You're wasting a lot of time by going back and forth and crisscrossing back and forth back through the park. And also exhausting yourself. It's enough walking the way it is. And I think, yes, of course, there might be times when you're like, okay, what do you want to do next? But to me, I'm always like, okay, what are we going to do next? This or this? And they're both options that are close by. And if Harrison wants to do something further away, I would say, no, we're going to do this and this first, and then we're going to head over there.
Right.
Don't let your kids totally run the show. Your experience will be worse for it because
Yeah.
they don't understand.
It's back in the day of the paper fast pass, you crisscrossed more.
Well,
because
you had to.
you would go grab your Space Mountain Fast Pass, but then not do anything else in Tomorrowland and go back to Adventureland, because you wanted to make sure you got your Space Mountain Fast Pass. But now that's really different now. Like the way with the My Disney Experience and Fast Pass Plus, you could sort of figure out what you want to do. You know what I mean, in what area of the park ahead of time. It just helps you from, like Ash said, getting tired and getting exhausted and kind of going back and forth.
Like you said, right? Is it more applicable for people that are maybe there with grandparents and younger kids? Sure. If you're 20-something, you're there with your buddies and you're crisscrossing all over the park and having the best time ever, it's probably fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, because, Magic Kingdom, I guess, it's weird.
It's like less space.
There's less space geographically, but you're still walking.
I would never go from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland, back to Fantasyland, back to Tomorrowland, back over to Adventureland, there's no point in doing that to me.
Yeah. But, it's interesting you say that because the Animal Kingdom is huge. And Animal Kingdom is so spread out. It's very big. It's a very, very big
So
footprint.
basically, but I mean, I feel like there are attractions you walk by. It wouldn't really make sense to walk from one side all the way back over to Pandora and then backtrack and then come back into Pandora again. If you have fast passes that are kind of all over the place, then that's a factor too. But, trying to cluster when you can it's
good.
Yeah.
Like if you let's say you had a Flight of Passage fast pass for the morning. Okay, you get off Flight of Passage, you go in the Navi River Journey line, you just wait in that line. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then after that, you go to Satu'li Canteen. Mm-hmm. We're just saying it's better for your time and your overall energy levels to kind of stay in areas of the park for a little bit before you go hopping around everywhere.
Or, maybe it is something where you have a fast pass for Flight of Passage at 4, but you know what? We really don't want to do the other part of Pandora until nighttime because we want to see it at nighttime. Right. Then leave, go do your other stuff, and then come back and group those other two things together. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's, now, especially too, you could do, say the same thing like Galaxy's Edge. There's so many things to do over at Galaxy's Edge. You could probably spend almost the entire day at Galaxy's Edge if you did everything. If you did the droid shop, you did the lightsaber thing, you did Smuggler's Run, Rise of the Resistance, had a Ronto roaster, and then got a drink. I mean, you could technically stay there the whole time.
I also want to make a disclaimer, too, is that a lot of parents want to do everything, and I would just give yourself the permission to know that no matter how hard you try, and no matter how long you're in the park, and if you don't take a break, you will never do everything. You just won't, and you'll be better for just allowing yourself to know that you're not going to get to everything.
It's okay.
We have never even come close to. We've done a lot on every single trip, and we felt very satisfied. But there's so much to offer. There's probably attractions that you don't even know exist. You know what I mean? Like back in certain countries of World Showcase or wherever it is.
Right.
And just know that you're going to have a great experience whether you accomplish everything. I mean, you won't accomplish everything. I don't think you can unless you're there for I don't know, weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe. But it's more fun if you don't put that pressure on yourself.
Yes. And then, of course, number 4 is not using Disney resources. And what we mean by that is use the app when you can. Use the My Disney Experience app. Check the wait times. Talk to the cast members. Really, honestly, do it. Talk to the cast members. Talk to people. Get the lowdown on what you should be doing or where you should be going. And if something happens that's screwed up, talk to them. You'll probably get, we've had it where something happened and we got free fast passes. And, there are, advantages to using those Disney resources. If you're celebrating something, definitely get a pin that says what you're celebrating.
Yeah, birthday, anniversary.
Yeah.
If something is close by, put it on a pin. Wear the pin.
Yeah. Remember, water is free everywhere, so you could always ask for water.
For a cup of water.
Yeah, if you need something, if you're thirsty and you don't want to spend $8 on a drink or whatever, definitely do that. There are lots of things now. They actually have these like guest experience cast members, which are around the parks, in like blue shirts and under blue umbrellas, and they can help you too. Usually the cast members are usually pretty friendly and will answer your questions and help you.
Another thing to note is the mobile ordering is a great resource to use.
Yeah.
If you have the foresight to know. Foresight?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Sounded weird when I said it. To know, like, you know what, after this we want to go grab, whatever food, and you can look up into mobile order.
Yes.
And they'll like track on your phone, they know when you're going to be there, and a lot of times you just go up to this other window where you avoid the line, and there might be like one person in front of you or two picking up a mobile order, but your food will be ready when you get there.
Honestly, it is awesome. Like, I would definitely use this, right? Use that resource, okay? Use FastPass, right? Mobile order, I think, is honestly one of the better things that they've come
literally.
up with.
If anywhere you're going is even just a few minutes walk away, then by the time you get there, it's pretty much ready. Or you have enough time to say, like, it's going to be 20 minutes. We can get on this 15-minute Winnie the Pooh wait right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can be like, we'll do that, and then we'll go pick up our food.
And if you've been there recently, if you have Magic Bands, keep them, because now I don't think they're complimentary anymore. So they've sent out so many Magic Bands, I guess, that their carbon tax is too high. Disney's
my problem
internal
is I feel
carbon
like
tax.
every time we've used an old one, it's always a problem.
Well, I hope that. Yeah, so I don't know. So now, if you
it's like things weren't linked, and
right.
It was just a disaster.
Yeah,
they better get that fixed.
Yeah, so definitely, if you've been there recently and you still have your Magic Band, you might want to keep that Magic Band. I think you could still opt to have like a ticket, and that's free. You could still have a card ticket, I think, if you want. I don't think they can technically make you pay for the physical manifestation of your ticket, since you're already paying for the ticket. So, but I don't think they're sending out the complimentary Magic Bands anymore. From what I hear.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely, I was surprised, actually, at how many people I've talked to that consider, not like saying I like above them or whatever, but consider themselves pretty Disney savvy and did not know about the wait time app.
Yeah. Isn't that
had
crazy?
no idea. And
Yeah.
it's really important because you can see, like, oh, hey, this cluster over here, this is 30 minutes and this is 50 minutes. Let's go over there. Versus,
Right.
this one's 90 or 75. You might decide, like, you can look at that and know what you want to do.
Right. Also, when we talk about Disney resources, we also talk about different things that Disney, there are complimentary things that you can do and get. Like, there are some things that you could, they're free of charge. Like, you could play the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom game in the Magic Kingdom. There are different things that you can do that don't necessarily cost you extra. But also, even at all the resort hotels, there are a bunch of great activities that you can look and do. like
Oh
if-
yeah, always check out the community centers and the arcades, and
Right.
there's always usually a
And there's
of
usually,
things.
yeah, like there's always a movie outside. Like, let's say you just decided, we had a long park day, we're not going back in the parks. There's usually like a movie theater, like a projector, what they set up, and you could go outside and watch a movie. There are like pool activities, pool entertainment. If you look on the resort activities schedule, there are things that are free of charge, right? That Disney provides. So those are other resources that you can use.
Yep.
So I mean, there's lots of different things that you can do, and also if let's say you do like there are some things that are possible day of, because people do cancel reservations. If you never got a reservation for some restaurant you really wanted to get into, it does not hurt to go talk to the cast members at the restaurant and say, hey, is there anything available? And there might be. You never
Yeah,
know.
we were able to add 2 more people to our Be Our
Be Our
Guest
Guest
reservation.
reservation.
Like 30 minutes before our reservation.
Right.
At the time of the reservation, I don't even know.
Right. So it is possible to, get, to use those resources and get.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, it really doesn't, honestly. Don't be afraid.
Because a lot of times people won't, like JB said, they'll opt not to do it, or they won't get there in time because, they didn't plan accordingly, or they just decided to do something else instead and they don't call. Sometimes they do, or sometimes they just don't show up to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Because they decide to stay in the park that they're at or go back to the hotel or whatever it is. So just ask.
Yeah. So, okay, and then number 5, the final one on our list so far. I mean, I'm sure we have more, but if we get to more, we get to more. Here's a weird thing that people tend to do, and I get it because, like, you're tired and you're kind of just, let's go, let's get out of here. We've had a long day around all these crowds. But leaving right after nighttime, spectacular.
See, I feel like this is a big mistake. Whether you're exhausted and you plan on doing nothing else, I still say wait, because when you walk out and everyone else is walking out, you're still fighting the crowd.
Yeah.
You will wait in the
Yeah.
longest bus line, the longest monorail line, the longest boat line.
Yeah.
And you will be pushed and shoved down Main Street or whatever it is you are, and it will be not a fun experience. I say wait, even if it's just to walk around, go into some of the stores, shop around, and give it 30, 45 minutes to let those crowds dissipate.
Yeah.
And then when you walk out, there's not nearly as long of a line
No.
to get back. And you can just take it easy. While everyone's walking this way, you walk the other way and just sort of enjoy the parks and the shops and grab a water or an ice cream or whatever it is and just chill. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, like we did get on a few rides. We chose to do that last time. We went on a few things.
Okay, so most of the time, you can hang around in the park, afterwards. I think Fantasmic, you are, like, if you're at the later show of Fantasmic, I think you do have to leave afterwards because the park technically closes.
I'm talking more
But we're
mainly
talking about
Magic Kingdom.
if
and
you're,
Epcot.
Magic Kingdom, Epcot, obviously if there's like a fireworks show right by in studios that's on the Grauman's Chinese Theater, then you could obviously stay if it's still the parks are still open. But yes, I mean, even after Illuminations, technically the park closes at 9 and Illuminations ends after 9. But you could still hang out at World Showcase for a little bit. Let like Ash said, just let people go. Like, let them go and just kind of be real slow, Kind of take your time.
Yeah, we walk into as of right now, last time we were there, it's not like they closed the shops, right?
Right.
They'll let you kind of walk around in there and you'll be one of the only ones
Yeah.
in there. We just sort of take it easy and take it in, and everyone's trying to rush out, most likely because they walked into the park at 10 o'clock.
Right.
And they've had it.
Yes,
And
they're
they're ready to
ticked,
go.
they're
Where
they're tired.
we've really only been back in the park for a few hours.
Right.
And are well rested, and we're totally fine.
Yeah.
Playing it chill. Plus, you'll notice that the park is, especially at Magic Kingdom, after the first, because a lot of times there's 2 nighttime shows.
Yeah,
like
a lot
one
of
late
times.
at 11:30 or 11, whatever it is. The park is decently less busy
Yeah.
after that first 9:30
Yeah.
happily ever after show, and
Most of the babies
yeah.
and to go home. Yeah. Or go back
But
to
I mean, even if you are wanting to go back, I would still encourage you to wait that 30 or 45 minutes. I mean, unless you're going to walk back to like Bay Lake or Contemporary or whatever.
Walt's favorite time to be in the park was at night. So
I think it's worth it, sanity-wise. Why fight all the crowds again?
Right.
Just wait.
You just take a stroll. And sometimes, and this, I think Disney is going to bring this back because they didn't have this for a long time. Sometimes when you're in the park late, the characters come out and they sort of roam. They used to have roaming characters, and I think they're going to bring that back, is what I hear, because they stopped doing that.
Being in the park at that time is my favorite time.
Right. Sometimes, like, there's been times where we were in the park late in Fantasyland, and we saw Chip and Dale and like Captain Hook. Like, there was some really cool characters that just were like there.
Yeah.
Like, they just kind of came out and were around. And I was like, this is awesome.
And I think you'll be surprised, even if you have young kids, if you've taken that break in the middle of the day, they usually are doing okay.
Yeah.
They're doing okay, or maybe they snooze in the stroller or whatever.
Night.
If you're out the whole day, then you're probably going to hit some breakdowns at this point. But if you've had that break, you'll be surprised at what your kids can do.
Harrison, the last night we were in Magic Kingdom, the last trip, he wanted to keep going on stuff. He was like, let's keep going.
4. Yeah.
We did Small World, and I thought Small World would be our last ride, but he was like, no, let's do Little Mermaid. So we were like, okay, well, what the heck? Let's do Little Mermaid. We were like, we kept doing it, because he was.
And that was the last
game.
day he had. You get a decent amount of sleep, I feel like, as an adult, but as a child who normally gets 10 to 12 hours of sleep a night, he was getting 8.
Yeah.
And he was operating on that for the 8th night in a row. So, it was pretty telling, I think, to have that break in the middle of the day. Speaking of which, here he is.
Yes.
You want to say hi, Harrison?
Hi.
There you go.
Do you like staying out late at the parks?
Yeah.
To go on more and more rides?
Yeah.
So you like being there at nighttime or daytime?
Nighttime.
Yeah, nighttime?
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it just close up.
And then it closes up. You're right. It does have to close
You're
eventually.
Right. You're right.
And it has to glow all over.
Yeah, it
Yeah, it
closes
does
all
glow.
over. Oh, the glow,
It
yeah.
glows all over too, right? Yeah.
It's kind of cool when everything is lit up.
Yes. And so, okay.
Put it in there.
Oh, you put
Well,
it
that
in
is
there.
our
Thank you.
last point anyways. Is there any... I wanted to talk about groceries, too, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize they can do that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Another thing that we do is we order groceries to our room. And I feel like that's a big saver as well. If you eat every meal in the park, it can add up pretty quick. We usually eat one meal in the park a day, sometimes more, depending on what the plan is. But we try and eat breakfast and lunch in the room. And that really helps. And you can do it through Amazon. And you just put the address for the resort in there. And we did it through Amazon Now, I think it was. And I would usually do it on the Magical Express on the way to the resort, and it would be there like 2 hours later.
Yeah.
And you can also add in anything that you forgot. So, like diapers, if you need diapers or wipes or sunscreen, it'll end up probably being cheaper than sunscreen you can buy in the little shops at the Disney resorts, because, those tend to be kind of expensive. So if it's something where you're like, man, I really don't want to pack like 30 diapers or whatever it is for however many kids you're bringing that are young, always know that you can add that stuff to your grocery order. You can order stuff like that. And then we would order, last time we stayed in a 1-bedroom, so we did have
a kitchen.
So we did buy like eggs and bacon and grapes, but we've also stayed in studios where we've just had the little mini fridge, and we've had stuff for sandwiches and bagels and lots of stuff, like snack stuff that didn't need to be in the fridge, just crackers and chips and bottles of water. And, anything you can think of that you'll, sandwich. We had sandwiches for lunch, so we had the lunch meat in the fridge. But it's a really...
way to save.
It's a way to save and also just something to consider.
Yes. And best snacks for, like, when it gets really hot out, you guys, the best things to do is get, like, a slushie or a Goofy Glacier.
I'm really hesitant because of the sugar content, but every time we do it, I'm like,
it really cools you off.
It really does cool you down the most.
Yeah, it really, really does. So, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that wraps up our top 5 mistakes people make on a Disney trip. There's probably more. We'll be talking about more, I'm sure, as we go. And we've made mistakes too, guys. It's not like we're perfect or anything. We've done some of these things that we're talking about and said, oh gosh, we better not do that again. So please rate and review us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you guys download and listen to the podcast. Again, I'm JB Michaels. Also, the podcast is brought to you by our Bandcamp subscribers, my books. Okay, check out MrMichaels.com for more info on the books, or Amazon, or Smashwords, or wherever you want to look at some books. Barnes & Noble. Also, if you need anything insurance-wise, let us know. I also do that. Okay, home and auto and all of that. So please just let me know if you want a quote. Also, anything else to add, Ash, before we wrap up here?
No, I think that's it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, from the Midwest. See you later.